live. And there we are.
Ta-da!
Hi, everybody. Joe Cioffi, Fios 1 News, Long Island, and Fios 1 News, New Jersey.
And Joe Rayo, Fios 1 News, Lower Hudson Valley.
On the Thursday, June 14th rendition of the Joe and Joe Weather Show. It's coming up on 6 minutes before 9 o'clock Eastern Time. And what a beautiful day we had today.
It was a gorgeous day, a gorgeous flag day, and I hope everyone who had access to the flag displayed it proudly. It certainly was flapping in the breeze, as those breezes this afternoon were gusting past 20 and 30 miles an hour at times. And
oh, yeah.
It was a lovely, lovely day with lots of sunshine. It was puffy. This is one of those picture postcard days. If you were looking, let's say, to take a postcard picture of the skyline of New York, this is the kind of day the photographers wait for. The blue sky, the brilliant sun, the big billowing fair weather clouds. It was just a gorgeous afternoon.
That it was. And the only downside, Joe, is I was out this morning with all that wind. There was pollen everywhere. Yeah. And that, I think, gave me a little bit of a setback as far as my voice is concerned.
Oh, dear me.
But we'll see how it plays.
Tree pollen, that's the only...
The person whom you're trying to reach is currently unavailable. Please leave...
Is that our guest tonight?
I was trying to get our guest tonight, but apparently there's some signal issues going on. Brad Schweitzer Sr. with SS Storm Chase and Forecast Team, and I do some writing for them from time to time. He went out to Scranton, in northeastern Pennsylvania, to observe the damage from what was another EF2 tornado, apparently.
Yeah.
This happened last night around 10 o'clock.
Right. Well, I have my father-in-law and my brother-in-law live, actually, in Brodheadsville, Pennsylvania, which is just a stone's throw away from Wilkes-Barre, Scranton, and that apparently is where the tornado apparently hit. And as soon as I get through the door last night, my wife tells me that, oh my God, Dad's got an incredible thunderstorm going on right now. On her color radar, on the iPad that she looks at the radar, it was like a deep shade of purple.
Yes.
So it was obvious that there was some real big-time action going on in that sector of northeast Pennsylvania. But thankfully, as it continued eastward, it ran into a much stable air mass over the immediate tri-state area, and whatever activity that occurred in Pennsylvania kind of weakened quite a bit when it got into our neck of the woods.
The damage was extensive, and I put up 2 live streams from earlier today that Brad shot, and one of them was drone aerial footage. So if you want to take a look, it hit a shopping mall in Wyoming Valley very hard, and it was, I don't know what store it was. Well, it was centered near a Panera Bread outlet. But there was a rather long rectangular building of some sort, and the entire roof it looked like it had been opened up with a can opener.
With a can opener.
Yeah. It was astounding, and you could see the variability in the damage too, in the surrounding parking lots, car dealerships, where sort of haphazard areas where some cars were okay, and then others were just absolutely totaled.
And this was just coming about a month after our blitz here in the Hudson Valley of the 4 tornadoes that hit in the Hudson Valley. The strongest. So we were just having this conversation off air, of course, obviously, yesterday afternoon about whether or not any of those tornadoes last month were higher than an EF2. EF2 seems to be the maximum. I don't ever recall hearing about an EF3 or 4 in this part of the country, or at least in this immediate area. And as you just mentioned last night, EF2 for the Wilkes-Barre or the northeast part of Pennsylvania. So I don't know if we'll ever see anything stronger than that. I certainly hope not, but that seems to be about the peak of potency for those twisters in this part of the country.
Robert Smith of Garden State Weather put up a link, and he's got some pictures there too. So if you guys want to take a look at that a little bit later on, go right ahead. That's Bob Smith at Garden State Weather. Thank you for that. Okay, so let's talk about Joe. Sorry, I just realized that you are kind of... There you go.
Oh, there I am.
Yeah. I'm going to start off with the Pacific, which we don't really do very often, but this is the second fastest start of the tropical storm season on the Pacific side, because they, as of late this afternoon, you can't really see all of it. It's on the lower right here. This is the season's fourth tropical cyclone, fourth tropical depression. It's the fastest start since the satellite era in 1966. The fastest start for the hurricane season in the Pacific, second fastest, and it just missed being the fastest by 6 hours. So it's a very quick start. We have Tropical Storm Bud, and the well-defined low-level circulation still there and moving over the southern tip of the Baja Peninsula. We've been saying that this moisture was going to be headed into the southwest over the weekend, and it is, and it's been bone dry there. So with the drought conditions, so that's going to be at least helpful. It's going to be a slight easing of the drought. It doesn't end it. And then you've got the remnant low of Aletta is still out there spinning around. If you go from where Bob is, go south and west of there, you can see where Aletta is. So a pretty active start on the Pacific side for sure.
Yeah, Aletta took the more classical track for the very beginning of the Pacific hurricane season. That is, developing adjacent to the west coast of Mexico, but taking a curve over to the left or to the west. That usually is where a lot of tropical cyclones go at this time of the year in the Pacific. Of course, we mentioned that Bud is going to take a more dysfunctional, if you will, type of route to the north and eventually rocketing away to the northeast. And some of that moisture from Bud may possibly have a say in some of the shower activity that may fall across parts of the northeast, perhaps on Tuesday. We're not talking about anything heavy. We're not talking about potential flooding rains from a tropical system here. We're just talking about the possibility of maybe a shower or thunderstorm on Tuesday. And if we do see that, some of that moisture may have originated with what is now a very compact-looking tropical disturbance, Bud, down just south of Cabo San Lucas in
right.
the Baja area.
And if the clouds that are off the west coast to the northwest of Bud, you see them dropping southward. There is a very deep trough that that's been almost semi-permanent in the East Pacific and into the inland west for the last number of weeks, and that is creating an almost a southerly flow there, which is a little bit unusual for this time of year. Like you said, they usually like to go west this time of year, but this is causing these systems to go north, and we'll see if that moisture eventually finds its way here, although it won't be of any serious impact to us. I mean, you wouldn't know the difference unless we told you that it was from a tropical system. Janet Forbes Dunn of Northern New Jersey Weather Observers, how much warning did they get in Wilkes-Barre? They got the warning up when it did go up last night a little bit before 10 o'clock. So the tornado warning went out as probably as fast as you could get it. The timing was good because at that time of night there weren't that many people around. There were some injuries, but thankfully there were no one lost their life from this. But definitely would have been a different story if this thing had come during the daytime.
Well, and that particular part of Pennsylvania was already underneath a severe thunderstorm watch for much of the afternoon and into the evening. In fact, that watch was to expire last night at 11 o'clock, and of course the tornadic activity occurred at 10. There may be a few people out there who argue that how come we didn't, the National Weather Service didn't issue a tornado watch as opposed to a severe thunderstorm watch, which was what was up. But always, even with a severe thunderstorm watch, there was always the commentary and the summary that goes along with it that severe thunderstorms have been known to spawn an occasional isolated tornado. So even if it was emphasizing more of a severe thunderstorm threat, you always have to be concerned, and indeed we saw last night that there was indeed a funnel cloud, and indeed there was a tornado that occurred in that rather broad region that was outlined for possible severe weather.
No severe weather for us to worry about over the next 4 days. We are in good shape through the daytime Monday, I think. The issue for tomorrow is clouds coming down from New England because we've got that upper low sitting off the New England coast near Nova Scotia that's spinning around, and there's a bicycle spoke coming down. Right. and that could bring in some cloud cover. I don't think it's going to be any worse than partly sunny, at least down Long Island and down through most of Jersey. There might be some midday to afternoon clouds that get, perhaps cover a good chunk of the sky, but I'm thinking there's going to be still a decent amount, a fair amount of sun.
Yeah, well, it's not going to be a terrible day, Joe. I mean, the temperatures tomorrow are going to be, at least in the Hudson Valley, I think mostly in the mid and possibly even low 70s. And places, you're right, places that, let's say in the lower Hudson Valley, New Rochelle or Mamaroneck, closer to the Sound Shore, coastal plain, may get some good breaks of sun even during the afternoon. But further inland, where that instability, that spoke, if you will, interacts with the higher terrain
north
area.
Of 84, yeah.
Right, you'll probably see a lot more in the way of cloud cover, but still not a terrible day tomorrow. But of course, if you want sunshine, it will be a bit of an interruption between what we had today and what we're going to see Saturday and Sunday. Once that spoke gets out of the way tomorrow night, it leaves the door wide open with high pressure building almost directly over us Saturday and Sunday for lots of sunshine and indeed a very rapid climb in the temperature in the Hudson Valley. Probably it'll be mid-80s on Saturday, upper 80s to near 90 on Sunday. And on Monday, that's the day. That's going to be the day of heat and humidity. And I could very easily see places, it could be in the Hudson Valley, 92 to 97. And our friends at Teterboro Airport with their wonderful thermometer
will be 109.
Well go to 109, 103.
Well, here's the GFS 2 p.m. temperatures on Monday. And they're every bit of middle 90s from northern Virginia all the way up into southern New Hampshire. You've got some 94, 95s in there, even a couple of 96 and 7s popping up. Wouldn't be surprised if that's at 2 o'clock, so it'll give you another hour or so of heating after that. It was certainly somebody I think could see upper 90s.
And one of our producers, by the way, a little while ago while you were out, I was in the newsroom and chatting with our friend John Houseman and mentioning how hot it was going to be on Monday. He says, well, it doesn't really matter. I mean, he said, if you're out on Long Island, we always get that nice cooling sea breeze.
And you might not get it.
I had to point out to John, I said, this may be one of those occasions where the west winds kind of squelches that sea breeze.
Right.
You may literally, even on Long Island, you may literally have to have your feet in the water to get any.
Or if you do get the sea breeze, it won't be until after 3 or 4 o'clock.
Right.
And because the ocean water temperature is still pretty cold, but you could get to every bit of 95 or 6 before that. If there's a west or even a west-northwest wind, that's usually when you see places like Kennedy and the south shore of Long Island hotter than some of the inland spots. I don't know. I don't think it's going to be a northwest wind, but if it's a west wind, it still could be get to every bit of 93, 4, or 5 before it happens. Now the question for Tuesday is this cold front and the timing, because the model runs have been kind of trying to figure out whether this thing comes through late Monday night, early Tuesday morning, or does it come through later in the afternoon Tuesday, in which case Tuesday could still be a very warm day for a good chunk of the area, or even borderline hot if it comes in later. And either way, this might be the trigger for perhaps some thunderstorms.
Yeah, it most definitely it looks like the crest or the peak or the pinnacle of the heat and humidity is going to be Monday. And then Tuesday and Wednesday, it's going to be dependent, as you just mentioned, on the passage of that cold front, when precipitation occurs. But regardless if it's in the morning or even in the evening, we do see Tuesday and Wednesday a gradual decline off of the high scale of temperature and also the high dew point temperatures. And it certainly should feel a lot better out there by midweek on Wednesday.
And also the other issue for next week is that push of cooler air is not as pronounced as was being modeled earlier, and it looks like the front does get hung up to our south, so that may or may not open the door for the possibility of some showers later next week. But you know what? That's a longer range problem. We'll deal with it when we get there.
That's why John was interested in the weather. John Houseman, he was saying that he plans to be at the Jones Beach Theater for a show on Wednesday, and he says it's great even when it's hot weather to be in the theater, but when it rains to any degree, it's not so great. And I told him that I think that there could be a hit or miss thunderstorm on Tuesday, and Wednesday it'll be a matter of seeing just how far south that front progresses. If it's still nearby, we could have a few showers scattered about on Wednesday as well. If it has enough oomph to push southward enough, Wednesday could turn out to be a dry day, but as you just mentioned, Joe, that's still like 6 days off, and it's always difficult to time anything out to any exactness so far out.
Cynthia Guignaudis, who's one of my regulars here and on YouTube, Central PA, just west of Wilkes-Barre, has had an EF3 tornado in 1976 and an EF4 in 1985, rare but not unheard of. And this is one of a number of EF2s over the years for Luzerne County, where Wilkes-Barre is located. And again, rare. I do hope this makes people a bit more weather conscious. Too many people last night were dismissive of it before it hit.
Now, you and I have been in this now for like 40 years. I do not recall anything higher than an EF2 in the immediate tri-state area.
Yeah, I don't remember.
But then again,
I don't remember either.
With Cynthia just mentioned, Pennsylvania, that's a whole different animal. I mean, it's a place that, of course, is further inland, and it's quite mountainous. The Appalachians are out there, and it tends to get hotter in certain situations, and maybe more of a push of moisture coming up from the Gulf, hitting them as opposed to us. I think the fact is that we're parked right next to a big ocean that helps to modify things, but you don't have to go too far away to see a more active and more violent weather possibility, and that certainly was the case yesterday.
Hi to Mark Salzano. Mark, good to see you here. Gary Guiga, when are we going to get steady 90s, sunny for weeks? We're not. Okay, it's just not with this pattern. We've been saying this on and off for a while now. With the pattern that we're in and the way it looks going forward for the next couple of weeks, it's going to be very hard to string together more than a day or two of really hot weather without a cold front coming through.
Now, case in point, over Canada, for example, there have been summers in the past, and we again remember these kind of summers where everything was very stagnant. You'd have a tremendous ridge build up over the North American continent. All the nice, cool, dry air was way to the north, and you'd have to wait sometimes in July and August days and days and days to get a break from that. But in this pattern that we're in right now, that doesn't look like it's going to happen. We will occasionally get the pinnacle, as I mentioned earlier, of heat here on Monday. But if you want several days or more of that kind of weather, that's just not going to happen, especially since, case in point, tomorrow, a storm that's over in the Maritimes of Canada still having enough to send us a spoke of energy and moisture to keep the upper flow moving, and to preclude heat from lasting for any longer than a day or two.
I was trying to get Brad on again, but apparently issues getting through to him. So maybe we'll give it a try tomorrow. All right, folks, let's call it a night. We are going to be back tomorrow to finish off the week and head into the Father's Day weekend. For those of you not going to be here tomorrow, you dads and granddads that are on, happy Father's Day to you. And you can see me at the top of the hour at FiOS 1 News Long Island and FiOS 1 News New Jersey.
And FiOS 1 News Lower Hudson Valley. If memory serves me correct, it was kind of a drab, dreary Mother's Day weather-wise around
last
here.
2 years it's been that way.
And
Dad gets the whole weekend. Dads get the whole weekend.
Dad gets the whole weekend.
That's the new rule. Okay? And they get to do what they want to do. Okay? So, Dad gets to do what makes him happy, not what you say he should do to make him happy. Okay?
Sounds good to me.
Works for you?
It works for me.
The old joke for me was that I've been going to Belmont on Father's Day, every Father's Day for the last 20 years. And one of these years I may actually get there. So, all right, folks.
And this is going to be your first grandfather
Father's
Day.
And that's just amazing. That's just such, I'm still on a high from it. It was.
I know.
He's 5 weeks old now and doing really well. It's just so awesome. My son-in-law, a new dad. My daughter, a new mom. My other daughters are new aunts, and they're just going crazy over him. So it's all good.
It's fantastic.
All right. So have a great rest of your night, folks. We will see you tomorrow, and also don't forget tomorrow morning. Get your weekend weather updated with Brian Fitzgerald and Jeff Banson and Addison Green and Brittany Borer in the afternoon. And Joe and I will be back tomorrow night beginning at 5 o'clock.
Or Reservoir.